What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the job site. Today we're going to continue on the Build Your Own House series. It's gonna be a little different for a second. You're gonna see I'm in a t-shirt, the sun is shining, there is no snow, and there's a hole in the ground. We need to take you back 4 weeks-ish. I shot some footage to walk you guys through what happens when your engineering company comes out and stakes the lot for your foundation. So we're gonna throw that in here so you guys can see that, and then we're gonna pick up where we are today. Welcome back to the office. In today's video, you're gonna spend some time in here, some time out on the site, and we're gonna make some progress. This is the next installation of our Build Your Own Home series. And today we're gonna be going over site plan, both the technical side of it on the computer and the side of it that you get to see in the dirt. So part of this video is gonna kind of jump ahead a few steps of what we have to do, right? Because, I mean, after your site plan's done and your house plans are done, you kind of got to bid the house out, go through some budgeting and all that stuff before you break ground. But I figured it would just make more sense if we could go over the site plan on the computer, plus take you on site so you can see it and give you that correlation, right? So it's not just theoretical. So some of the video that we shot to go with this is technically gonna take place much further down the road of this process, but it'll just make sense. We'll stick with it. So in the last video, you went back and forth with your designer or your architect. You got a house designed, you got it back, you got your floor plans. The next thing you need to do is send the foundation layout to the civil engineering company that you tasked with giving you your general survey before, so you knew what size building envelope you had. And what your engineering company is going to do is they're going to take that foundation plan and they're going to place it on your lot for you. And then when they place it, they're also going to set elevations for your foundation heights, for your garage floor, and they're gonna set your grading plan, and they're gonna make a couple other call outs that we're gonna go over. Given that they're gonna put all of that information on a piece of paper for you, what you're gonna wanna do is send all that back to your designer or architect, and then they will kind of tweak your elevations for you for the house, if you want them to where you can actually see what the house is gonna look like with the grade changes, with the elevation changes. If you're on a flat lot, this is a nothing burger, you're not gonna send it back, you're not gonna change anything. But if you've got a lot that slopes steep one side to the other side, you're gonna wanna send it back to the architect so they can see how much they need to drop the foundation on part of the house to accommodate for your grade change. And that way you've actually got a proper representation to send out for your bids and to give to your trades to build instead of trying to wing it on site. You know, we've talked about this in the past, how there's sometimes you have to wing some things. We've done that with a house before where we didn't send it back for elevation changes. And it just requires more communication between you and your excavation company and your foundation company so they know what you're envisioning so you get the product you want. It's just a lot easier to have your architect or designer take the plans and give them a little tweak to match your site plan. So what we have here on the screen now is the site plan for 85 Esker, which is the Build Your Own House project we're working on. And we're just gonna kind of go down some of the basics of it, right? It's got the legal description for what it is. You know, it's got the lot number, all the gibberish that comes along with the legal description, and the parcel number. Then over here, it's gonna tell you about flood zones, right? We're in an X unshaded, which means non-flood zone. It tells you the municipality where you're in. And here's where stuff starts to get important for you, right? Proposed elevations. So we've got a 790.5 foot proposed garage floor elevation. Our finished grade varies around the house. And we'll look at these numbers on the plan. I just want to call these out here. So we have a top of foundation elevation, finished floor for the home entry, and then the lowest entry elevation it calls out as well, which is going to be the garage floor elevation. So where it talks about this varies equals proposed finished grade around the house. We come down here and here's our house and here are our grade points, 790.5. And when we come around this side of the house, since the lot slopes down into the right, we're gonna have a lower elevation here, right? We're at 788.5. So it just tells us we have 2 foot of grade change from the left back corner of the house to the right back corner of the house. And then you see there's all sorts of squiggly lines and solid lines and symbols and signs everywhere. All of these things you're seeing on the screen are called out in the legend. But before I jump down to the legend, because I seem to get ahead of myself sometimes, you need to know where all these elevations are based out of. You need a constant, or your excavators need a constant, and your foundation guys need a constant to know where to set their laser and their transom. So that is what's called the benchmark. And the benchmark it calls out here is the top of an, I can't pronounce that because I'm dumb, capped bar at the northwest corner of the property parcel as shown. So we know that this is north and this is west. And if we come over here and we're like, oh, here, that's this? Okay, here it is. Here's our cap. And this is the set elevation, 787.9. That's going to be your reference point, also known as the benchmark, where you'll set everything off of. So you just set your laser based on that, and then all of your differentials and elevation are going to come off of that. So now let's jump down to the legend. All these little squigglies and symbols all reference something that is out on the plan, right? Your telephone pedestal, you can see, is up here. You've got the electrical transformer, which is right here. Where they want your permit sign, they put a little P on it, which, I don't know, it's somewhere on here. We put the permit always in the left corner of the property, so it's there. And then they call out what you need for erosion control. You're gonna have a silt fence, which you kind of see here, this dashed silt fence line around here, and it comes up to here, it calls out silt all the way around. The county we work in, since this is sloped from back to front, they don't require erosion control in the back. Water and erosion can't go uphill. So they're like, that's just wasted money if we make you do the back there. So they really only want you to put erosion control in the path of water runoff to kind of help keep dirt, debris, and sediment from getting into stormwater sewers. These solid lines with numbers on them, and then you see these dashed lines with numbers on them. And you come over and go, what the heck are these? As you guys have seen very early on in our video when we looked at the GIS and we called up the topography, it showed all the topography lines. Well, you have those on your site plan as well, except for these are going to be a little bit more accurate. And your solid lines, these are the existing elevations, your topography of the lot. And then the dashed lines are the proposed contours. So you're going to see where, like, this 790 here is a proposed that comes in and it ties into a 790 existing, right? And then you got a 789 that ties into an existing 789. And you're going to see these, you've got drainage flow symbols that kind of point away. You always want drainage away from the house. So now, as we've discussed, the back of the slot's higher, so it's going to kick water at the house. So we have to put a small swale in, which you'll see here, that is going to split in the middle, and it's going to shove all this water. It's going to push off to that side of the house, and all this water here, it's going to grab, and it's going to push it to this side of the house, carry it down around the house and out to the concrete aprons where the stormwater drains are, and it'll kick it out there, right? And again, from the front of the house, you want all the water to go away. Water is not your friend. And then this has, we have a proposed covered patio. We're actually not doing covered patio. It's just going to be a regular patio, but it's already on there. And then you'll see there's proposed locations for trees, right? We have to plant minimum of 2-inch diameter trees. That's something with the covenants we have to do, and there's specific trees you're allowed to plant. That's going to be in your local municipality is going to determine that, because they don't want invasive species coming in and taking over. So they kind of tell you what you can put in there. So one of the most important things on your site plan is going to be this spiffy little guy here, right? This is the stamp for your surveyor and your engineers. This says that this company is licensed and they are approved to make these types of plans, right? If you don't have this, your county's going to tell you to pound sand. Go hire somebody who does, because this information is going to be saved with the county. And then at the end of the project, the county's going to come in and they're going to confirm that you built your house and treated your site the way that the engineers told you to. And if you don't, they can make you fix it and make sure that you take care of it in the way that it was planned. There's a couple things that weren't in the legend that are on here that I should have covered. Like, here is your sanitary sewer that runs to the road. It comes up and They're proposing to tap it into the house here, but there's actually, you don't have to go out onto the road to make your sewer tap. There's going to be a sewer tap in the easement that you tie into. And then we have proposed water line, right? Here's the main water line coming through. We tap off and we bring it in. Realistically, since there's a covered porch here, we don't want to have to go through 2 concrete walls. We'll probably bring the water line in and around the side of the house here. And then since our electrical box is over here and our gas feed is over here, we will bring in our power and our gas through the opposite side of the house. So what we're showing you here is a site plan that also shows the corner stakes for the foundation. What that means is they already went out and they drove 4 stakes in the ground to reference a square, right? Because your excavators have to know where the house is on the property. And if you just give them a site plan with no marks, no nothing, no stakes in the ground, absolutely nothing, their life's gonna be pretty friggin' hard. So we send the engineers out and they drive 4 stakes in the ground, and they are these little boxes right here, right here, right here, and right here. And what you'll see is they create a rectangle. On the back of the house, the line between the 2 stakes is the back wall of the house, the exterior of the back of the foundation. And then when we come to the front line here, it touches the furthest front concrete wall on the house, which is going to be for the covered patio. And the other thing you can see in really faint letters here, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. So now that these stakes are in the ground, you can run a string around all 4 of them and start snapping some dimensions. So what we know is this corner of the house is 17 feet from the stake, and we already know that straight line is the back wall of the house. And then we come down here and we know from this corner to the corner, or from this stake to the corner of the house is 5 feet. And there's no measurement here because this is a straight line and the side of the house is a straight line. So we know by default that this is a 5-foot setback to this corner. And then same thing with this line being straight here and knowing that it's 17 feet to this corner, we can look at the blueprints then and see where this wall is in relation to this line based off of the 17-foot measurement, right? A little bit of math comes into play. It's not the end of the world. But so these 4 corners are critically important to locating your foundation and making sure the house isn't twisted on the lot. And the other thing it helps you do is it avoids you from accidentally building the house in an easement or within a required setback, right? We're required 10-foot minimum setback. You'll see we have 15 and a half feet on this house, so we have wiggle room. Sometimes you only have like 3 inches of wiggle room, and you gotta make sure you hit it, and that's where these corners come in critical, so you have your exact locations. So now we're gonna go jump out on site, and we can show you where those are driven in the ground and how they're used in the real world. So we'll catch you outside. So, you know, we talked about the 4 stakes that they have in the ground or on the drawing. And what that does is you'll see this square guy nailed in, and then you got another one next to it. That sets a corner. And then if you come down here, ooh, the ground is only partially frozen. I think I just got in some muck. It's chilly out. Can we get the spring already, please? Then you've got another one, and this one you can actually see the writing on, right? So we'll be able to reference that number to the site plan, and don't mind the one that's over there. That's another project. I'm certain you guys will see that one with us too, but right now we're focusing over here. So then we have the back corner here. Same thing. You'll see it's got the nomenclature on it, and then there is the 4th one. But another thing that we see on the site plan, it's not going to have so much to do with building the house itself, but understanding the property boundaries are these stakes. So these ones in pink are going to reference our property corners, right? So we have those 4 corners for our building envelope, but outside of that, we need to know what's our property. So that's what this one is. That sets our back right corner. And then if we come through the trees here, we'll zip around, try and stay out of the thorns. Oh, not in the best shoes for this today. I'm in freaking sneakers instead of my work boots. That's what happens when you're running around on a Sunday doing job visits. So here is our other corner. Looks a little different, right? When they do the developments, they will drive metal stakes in the ground at the property corners. And then if those are still in place when your surveyors come out, they will just reflag them for you. So that is our back left property corner. You guys already saw the back right. And then on the front of the property, you'll have the same things. Okay, now that you guys have seen that, back to today and back to the current state of affairs at the site. You'll see we have our stone in for our driveway. What I want you to see is we use a big stone. We use a 2-inch minus stone. When you use the small, like 47s, we have found that they get stuck in your tires, they bury in the mud, they turn the street to a mess, they get drug everywhere. These 2-inch stones stay put really, really well. One downfall, they kind of suck to walk on. I think I've almost rolled my ankle a couple times, but it makes for a cleaner job site. So we're also gonna rewind one day to yesterday real quick. Andrea was on site yesterday when they started digging the foundation, and they actually let her jump in the machine and take a hunk of dirt out of the ground. So you guys will actually see the beginning of the excavation of this site.
Now go up. There you go. Straight up, straight up, straight up. And then a little bit.
Up. Keep going.
Up, 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 up. Alright. Turn over that way and jump. Oh. There you go. Now turn.
I'm spinning.
Spin. Spin more. There you go. Oh, stop. So when you're pulling back on that one, that's the dipper coming in.
I don't want to come in.
Only turn. There you go. Now go straight that way. Straight left.
This one?
There you go. Now push that forward.
This one forward?
This one. Straight forward. And out with that one. It'll dump.
I scooped dirt.
You got a dirt. You got a scoop out.
This now is what we're left with. And these are the stakes that you guys saw back when this was snow covered and I was bundled up. And you'll see that we still have them in place. You'll see our flag down there, our flag there. We have one over there, we have one there, and our one here. So what they do is they'll take this and they'll create a square box. And then they take all of their measurements for the footing locations, and then they mark them all out on the ground. So this here is a footing for the front porch. They take and they mark this on the ground with spray paint, and then they measure in, and they've got a jog for our footings for the garage that are over there. Then they will mark for the footings for the house. And then before they start digging, they use their laser and a transom, and the engineers give us what is called a reference point on our site plan, and it calls out a elevation there. And that reference point is gonna be something like a sewer lid or a stake in the ground with a specific set elevation at the top of it. So then our excavation guys can come and they set their lasers as a 0 there. They know at each point how far down the footings need to be, and they'll go through and they mark that. And some machines have GPS on them where they GPS the whole site, and then the GPS on the bucket tells them when to stop digging. Some guys still do it old school with a helper down in the hole with a stick and the laser, and he's checking it, and that's what you get. So based on the elevations shown on the site plan, that is how you end up with all of these spots, right? So this footing location is at a set elevation in reference to the reference point out there. The footing locations or the footing depths for the foundation itself, same thing. They're set to a specific height compared to the elevation mark out there. And you always have to keep that same reference elevation. That way when our concrete guys come in, they're gonna grab that same point as their 0, so they know where to set their forms, how high to set their forms. I mean, it's in the prints, how tall they are, but they always double check it, because say something was off during the dig, we can catch it before the footings are poured if the concrete guys are doing the same thing. So if we need to dig a little bit deeper, we can dig a little deeper, or if we went a little too deep and we have to form the foundation a little bit higher, so be it. That's what we do. Sometimes when you're working on a site that, as you can see, we have our grade comes down to the side here. That also comes down from the back down to the front. Everything might make sense when you look at it on paper, right? Engineers draw it up, they take the existing elevation for the house next door, then they set your elevations for this. You dig to it, and sometimes you show up on site and you go, I think something's not gonna work right here. And that is the feeling we had when we came in and we saw how shallow the footing for the garage is. If we were to pour on top of this and we were to match the elevation that the engineers called for, this front corner of the garage would be about 2 foot higher than that one. You're gonna end up with a steep grade, but you can't just drop one thing a foot. When you change something in a foundation, you have to look at everything that it can affect. When that corner drops a foot, the garage floor drops a foot, which means the driveway drops a foot, which means you have to figure out what you're gonna do with your porch. So sometimes this is the joy of building houses. You have to figure out a way to solve a problem you didn't know was a problem on the fly. And this one really wasn't a big deal. It's pretty simple. And if that's our biggest hurdle we have, then everything's gonna be all right. So one thing on this job site, normally we have to use pump trucks for our footings and for our foundations because we can't get concrete trucks around them. And pump trucks are pretty expensive. I think we pay about $2,300 per trip for a pump truck. So if we pump the footings and we pump the foundation, that's $4,600 in expense. Whereas this site, we were able to have a huge area all the way around where we could get concrete trucks around. So we're going to attempt to pour this one without pump trucks and save that money. It's a pretty big expense. So if you're building out on land and you're building a reasonably sized foundation, you can pour it from a truck. If you're building out on land and you could have all the room in the world, but if you're building a crazy complex house or a really, really big house, you're probably still gonna need a pump truck or a conveyor truck. Don't mind these other stakes. I'm kind of going backwards here, but these are for the next foundation that we're going to have going in over here. And you guys will see we have a big pile of dirt back here still, and we didn't cut everything out. It's because we need to have enough dirt left on site to backfill and grade away from the foundation. So we don't want to pay to bring dirt in when we've already got all this dirt sitting here on site ready to go. No need in spending the extra money. So one other thing that's going to happen before we pour our footings, we're going to get them formed, we're going to get the rebar in them, everything's going to go in, and then we have to get the county inspector out, and he's going to come and do a quick footing inspection, and he's going to make sure that we have good solid clay down below the footing where we're going to pour. We of course check it ourselves before we do that to make sure we're good, but it's just county regulation. Got to do it. And I think most places are going to have you, are going to require that inspection. But as always, you know, make sure you check with your local building commission on what inspections are required. You don't ever want to miss one. Say you need to have a pre-backfill inspection, which we do, and you decide to backfill the foundation and you forget to do it, high probability you're digging it back out and getting your inspector out to give it the green light. So we will have you guys out when they start forming the footings here in a couple days. And by we, I mean Andrea, will have you guys out, and she'll be shooting some footage of them setting up the forms, getting everything ready. And as we've told you guys, we want to get you guys as much footage through this process as we can. Since we're trying to use this kind of as our help you build your own house program, we got to get you guys as much footage as we can. So sometimes it's going to be her on site, sometimes it's going to be me on site, sometimes she'll shoot video and I'll have to voice over it. We're going to do whatever it takes to get you guys kind of everything you're going to need step by step along the way. So as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Do us a favor, hit the like button below, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.